Yo, what's up YouTube? This is your boy Oscar Ntege again. In this tutorial, we are going to show you how to edit dark knuckles, knees and bikini lines in Photoshop. Have you ever been in a situation where you're editing a photo and you realize a person whose photo you're editing or retouching happens to have dark armpits, dark knuckles, dark knees and dark bikini lines? You do all this great post-production on the face and the rest of the body and you realize these dark knees, dark armpits or dark knuckles are devaluing the quality of your image. I know how frustrating that is, but in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to remove all those dark blemishes and have an even kind of skin. The same technique can be used to remove dark patches around the eye area, dark patches underneath the neck and all that kind of dark stuff. This particular technique is going to help you to have even out skin tones. Without further ado, let's dive into this video. But before we dive into this video, please take a moment and subscribe to this channel. Give this video a thumbs up if you love it and leave comments below. Give me feedback of what you think. Give me feedback of where you think I should improve, of what more tutorials you guys would want to get from me. And let's make this happen. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you two different ways of removing dark armpits or dark knuckles from an image. Now, this is an image where this particular person has dark armpits. These things are not really very good to look at, and it really devalues the quality of your image. It doesn't matter how great of an editor you are, for as long as your images have such an evened out skin, then truth be told, in the beauty glamour world, this is devaluing an image. So let us remove this. What we are going to do, the technique we are going to use here is the frequency separation technique. If you're not sure of what the frequency separation technique is, I fully explain it in one of my videos. You're going to see the link up there, and you will click at this particular link and see all how I explain the frequency separation technique. The other technique is also frequency separation, but it is not very complicated. It is much more of a direct kind of technique. Now, you're going to duplicate this layer twice and then rename the downer layer as the color and then rename this layer as the texture. Hope you guys are following along. Now, we're going to unsee this. Now, this is going to be the texture that is going to all these small pimples you're seeing around these armpit vaginas. This is much more of the texture I'm talking about. Then the darkness, that brown kind of coloring, this is the color. So the frequency separation technique, like I said in my last tutorials, basically it is separating textures from color. Let us go through the process of frequency separation. We select the lower layer, we remove the eye icon off the texture layer, keeping the color layer selected. You come to filter, you say blur, then say Gaussian blur, and then let us first put this to 0, and then you blur out until you don't see the texture no more. You don't blur it out until you don't see anything. You blur out to a level where you see that the texture is not seen anymore, and then you say okay. Now we want to remove the texture off, separate this texture off this. So we are going to select this upper layer, the texture layer, then we say image, apply, and we say color, because we are subtracting the texture right off this particular layer. We say color, then you come here on the blending, change it to subtract. Remember, we are subtracting the texture we blurred out from here and putting it in this upper layer, and then you keep the opacity at 100, keep the scale at 2 and the offset at 128. Yes, and then you say okay. So we are going to change the blending mode of this to linear light. Yes. Now, when you look at this, nothing has really changed, but as we go on, you're going to see the actual change. Now, this is what we're going to do. We are going to use this color layer to brighten this up. What we are going to do, we are going to select the color layer, but above it we create a new empty layer. This, let us rename this bright armpit, just like that. So what we are going to do, we are going to use a brush. We're going to use this particular brush, and we change the blending mode here to lighten, just like that. You select the brush, change the blending mode here up here to lighten, then reduce the opacity to around 21, like here you see, and 16. Yeah, and then you come excuse me, and then you come here on this, still this armpit layer selected, and then you press the Alt key and you select the color that you would want to be filled around this area. You just press it there and then begin painting over slowly by slowly, like that. The reason as to why I'm using a very low opacity, I want to get to see that change coming gradually. You know, I don't want to have to see change that is overly random, just like that. Still, you come and select like around this area, because when you look at the tones here is quite different from where we selected here, and then you paint over that area as well. You know, it has to be slow. Don't overly do it in such a way that you crush it. You still do the same thing over here. You come, press the Alt key, and then you paint over. Hold down the Alt key and click over to pick a color, and then paint over, like that. You know, don't make it so flat. You do it in such a way that you're following shape and form of all that. You don't want to lose all the shadows in the particular thing, because it will turn out to be flat. Now let us remove the bright armpit layer and switch it on and off, and you see the difference. See the before, the after, before and after, before and after. You see how amazing it has turned out. Now the next thing we are going to do, we are going to merge down to push this and make this underarm bright armpit layer part of the color layer. What you do, just right click and you say merge down. Okay, let me do this again for you. After you've finished painting and done all the brightening, you want to make this bright underarm, this bright armpits layer part of the color layer, so that it is one full layer. So what you do, you right click and you say merge down. So now we have these, the bright underarm thing layer part of the color layer. The next thing we are going to do, when you look at this particular image, the colors are not really even, because the painting was not that perfect. So we're going to use frequency separation. We're going to begin to use the Gaussian blur rather, and blend these all colors of the hand. So let us get our lasso tool here, then make sure the feather is at like 18, depending on the size of the image you're working with. If you're working on fingers, definitely the feather may even go down, because it's a very small portion, depending on how big really the thing is you're editing. Then you come here, select this, and then you say filter, blur, you say Gaussian blur, and then we blur this out. You see how the colors are blending? Just like that. Same applies here. You do the same thing, like that, and then you make sure you select, as when you're making these selections, you select them according to the shape of the object you are editing. You don't have to make weird kind of selections. And you come still here and do the same thing right there. Now the next thing we are going to do, we are going to come and edit the textures of the underarm. What we are going to do in this case, we are going to remove these armpit vaginas, these ones you're seeing here, and then, or rather some people call them fish fillets. We edit all these out because they really make an image look bad. Yeah, I know this is not the best quality image that I would have presented, but the goal for me here today is to show you something at least that can improve the quality of your images. And by the way, if you have not yet subscribed, just click the subscribe button and support my channel so that I get the motivation to do more of such videos. It is your comments, your thumbs up and your likes that really motivate me to give out this free knowledge. So just subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Share this video with a friend who would want to learn photography or photography retouching. And yeah, back to the point. Now when you look at this, you let me just group this so that we see the before and after. That's the before and that is the after. Before, after, before, after, before, after. One may argue and ask me, hey, how is it that it has become flat? What do I do with the flatness? Now, I have a full video on burning and dodging, on how you can bring back dimension. I'll put the link just right up there so that you get to see that video on burning and dodging, where you can really paint back the dimensions of that. But for this particular video, I'm not going to go through it in details. I'm just going to use one of my action packs to use the burning and dodging so that I bring back the dimensions. Yeah, oops, sorry. Yeah, I'll just use that. Now I'll just use this because I have a full video on that. Just click the link up there and see the burning and dodging tutorial. So in this particular case, I'm not going to burn, I'm just only going to dodge. I'll just come and turn this to normal with a brush, then reduce the opacity to this, and then just dodge over there. Oh, sorry, you turn this to white, dodge over there, because I just want to bring back the dimensions of the hand. So some parts need to pop, and yeah, before and after, before and after. It is much more of introducing more of a dynamism, like a 3D feel to the whole flattened out image, because frequency separation tends to flatten out the colors if it is done in excess. So the only way you can bring back dimensionality, like that 3D kind of feel, is by burning and dodging. So that's that if when it comes to editing arms. Now let us try the simple way of editing knuckles using a different picture. Let's see. Now this is the picture we are going to edit. Still, we are going to use the same technique of frequency separation. I'll just go through this just for the sake of those who didn't watch my video of frequency separation, but still go and watch that video because it is something that is going to help you up your retouching game. This is something you're going to need to use even when it comes to ironing clothes, to to turning color tones and the like. So we're going to duplicate this layer twice, and then still rename this as color, and rename this as texture. Now we come and remove switch on the icon and make the upper texture layer invisible. You come here, say filter, blur, Gaussian blur. This is now too much of a blur. Let's take it back to 0 and we blur it out until we see the textures are gone, like that. Then you come and say, then you come and select the texture layer and say apply image. You come and select the color layer. You make sure it is subtract here. You opacity 100, leave this at 128. Just copy these settings and fill them in the way they are. But you make sure the selected layer here is the layer below the texture layer. Now this is the texture layer, but the layer below the texture layer, because remember we are subtracting texture off the underlying layer. So every kind of texture that we blurred out here will resurface in this upper layer. Let me say this again. The amount of texture you blur out here is going to resurface in the upper layer. So everything you blur out here is subtracted off and put onto this. Yeah, I'll close this. So we are going to change the blending mode to linear light. Now, the quick way, get the clone stamp and then you reduce the opacity still to 60 and around 60 here. If you want to do it quick and fast, then you change the blending mode here to lighten. With this particular technique, now you're working on the actual color pixels. So you come, now we want to reduce to get off these, you make sure it's the color layer that is selected. You come and clone where it is bright, and then you come and paint over here. You come and paint where it's, and then you clone over here. You come like that. In Luganda, such fingers are called engalo ezikonye. That is what the beauticians call this. So these are things you really want to edit out so that you get, you know, you give your customers more value for their money, you know, like that, you know. So let us look at our before and after. I'll just group these. See, before, after, before, after, before and after. Now let us just edit this hand and finish it so that we have these colors blended really, you know. So you just come and select, make sure, let us reduce 18 is okay. This is quite a big image. And then you say blur, say Gaussian blur. Then we come and make blur this out completely, not so much. Don't take it overboard for the hand to be flat. Then press Ctrl F, just like that. Like that. So that is how you really give people perfection. Now let us look at these images. That's the before, after, before, after, before and after, before and after. You know, this is quite a quick edit, but if you have a lot of time on your hands, you can even go ahead, burn and dodge and, you know, give it that kind of feel. But that is how they edit dark knuckles. Yeah, that is that for today. I hope to see you in my next tutorial. Please subscribe to this channel, give this video a thumbs up, tell me what you think about this video, and I'll see you in my next tutorial. And adios.